It's a song by the script and Will I Am here on Joy 99.7 FM. Good evening. Welcome to Personality Profile. Another Thursday evening affords us the opportunity to have a conversation with people who are doing it all for Mother Ghana. And this evening I've got an amazing guest. Yeah, a hard-working and passionate Ghanaian who has worked tirelessly in the interest of Mother Ghana for decades. And he continues to soldier on to get his party, the NDC, to steer the affairs of the country again. Yeah, he's a politician, he's a banker, stockbroker, he's a teacher, he's a farmer, and he is the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress and also the Vice President for Socialist International. It's a worldwide organization for political parties which seek to establish democratic socialism. Listen, he's got a great sense of humor. He's a lover of reggae music. He's a proud Presbyterian like myself. Great storyteller. I still recall his story about the panty factory at the launch of the NDC's Manifesto this week. Please help me welcome Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketiah. Of course, you know him as the General Mosquito to Personality Profile. General, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And how you doing?
I'm doing great.
You know what? When I put out the information that you're going to be on the show today, a lot of people send me messages. Lexis, please let him repeat this panty story for us. It was more like the highlight of the night. Tell me the story again for those who didn't hear it. Shit, I wanted to tell somebody, but I couldn't even tell the story in full.
No, I was just trying to demonstrate how thinking out of the box can lead to a discovery of solutions
that
eluded an organization for a very long time.
So what was it with the factory?
Yes. I said that there was a factory that manufactured underwear.
Okay.
And then at the close of business every day, you see that management will do the stock taking and then there will be shortages. So they tried everything conventional, including placing scanners at the gate so that they will scan the bags and everything of workers.
Yeah.
They couldn't get it. They got to a point where they were conducting intrusive searches to find out whether somebody is wearing two pants and all that. That proved futile. So this watchman, who nobody will credit of any good sense, told management that, can we search the people on their way inside the factory instead of searching them when they are going out? Management didn't think that it was a sensible suggestion at all, and moreover coming from somebody down there who is not credited with any degrees and so on. But after they tried everything, they decided to give it a try. And then one morning they were, searching the staff as they entered the factory. And they realized about half of them were coming without underwear. So
they come
without underwear,
but they leave with underwear.
And then they put underwear on. So when they are going out with underwear and you search, you still find that they are only wearing one underwear.
Oh my goodness! I mean,
so it tells you that at times, credit everybody with some good sense
and think outside the box.
Think outside the box, we will find solutions.
Amazing, General Mosquito here on Joy 99.7 FM. Listen, it was a great story. I mean, Adam told me the other day that she actually remembers that. That's a part of the law.
So the whole campaign launch, that was
I don't know, Kai. But anyway, how you doing, General?
I'm doing fine.
Yes, I'm sure you've been busy the past couple of weeks, planning campaign tours.
Very busy, running around the country, planning manifesto launch and all that.
Yeah.
Reviewing the manifesto to submit it for approval by National Executive Committee and all that. It's been a very hectic week, so I decided to sleep for today.
Yeah.
So the whole day, I didn't pick any call from radio stations and so on. I just slept throughout, and a little bit relaxed for tomorrow.
Oh, I'm so happy, and I'm glad I get to speak to you on a relaxed day because usually you're very busy, and I'm sure you'd probably not be in the mood for laughs if it was one of those days. But hey, today it's a very relaxing conversation, so don't switch into campaign mood yet.
Very well.
Okay, let's start that tomorrow. But I'm sure you were working throughout the COVID period, the lockdown and whatnot. Did it hamper your activities, as you were planning for the election in any way?
Yes, it did, because the COVID came and then virtually truncated our speak out tours, where we're engaging the people at regional levels.
Yeah.
We had done some regions, and there were a couple of regions to go, and so the COVID landed, and we decided to abandon the speak out tours the way we had begun them, and decided to go digital.
Okay.
And so it did affect our activities.
Do you think that is going to affect, the prospects?
No, we were actually able to collect the data we wanted, so it was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay, but at times meeting the people with excitement and so on is not the same as speaking their views from the social media.
Yeah, that's true. So your focus right now is to get the NDC back in power after the December elections. Sure. Am I right?
Sure.
That's the sole focus.
The main focus.
How do you assess?
Of course, the main focus is to remain alive first.
Okay.
And before we can go in.
Yeah. How do you assess your chances now?
Oh, our chances are pretty bright. But I keep on saying that as for elections, it is not over until it is over. So no room for complacency. If we were to vote today, I believe NDC can win. But 3 months is a lot of time where political fortunes can switch. So we shouldn't relax. We should continue soldiering on until the final victory.
Are you optimistic?
Very optimistic.
Do you get the same feedback from the populace?
Yes, I do.
Why? Why do you think they want the NDC back?
Well, in gathering their views about how to formulate the People's Manifesto, we got a sense that they are disappointed in the ruling government. Okay. But one thing I also kept saying and reminding my party people that the people's disappointment in the government is a step towards victory, but that is not victory. Okay, they may be disappointed in one government, but if you don't offer them a better prospect, they may want to stay with what they know instead of venturing into any new waters. Okay. So we think that we have very good prospects of winning the election, and we should emphasize on the messaging and all that. Okay. They'll give us the vote.
We'll talk more about preparations for December, but let's get to know you a bit more. I know the people in Wenchi are keenly listening. Yes. Of course, with one of their own. But is that where you grew up? Tell us a bit about growing up. Is that where you were born?
In Sekwa. Sekwa is my hometown. Of course, it used to be in Wenchi district, but now the district has been carved. Time has been carved out of Wenchi district, so we are no longer under Wenchi district. Those days we were all under Wenchi district. And
but Sekwa is in Bono. It's in the Bono region.
Bono region.
Okay.
So it was part of Wenchi district. You know, Wenchi used to be one of only 4 regions in Brong-Ahafo. 4 districts in Brong-Ahafo. Brong-Ahafo, the time it was created, used to have only 4 districts. Yeah. You had Wenchi, you had Atebubu, you had Gosu, and you had Sunyani. And then, so it is out of these districts that many more districts have been carved out. So Wenchi, if you like, has been a parent of about 6 or 7 districts. Okay. Out of Wenchi, Nkranza was carved out. Nkranza has now become Nkranza North and South. Out of Wenchi, Techiman was carved out. Techiman has become Techiman North and South. Out of Wenchi, Kintampo was carved out. Kintampo has become in Tampo North and South.
Okay.
And then Time Banda was carved out, and Time Banda has now become Time and Banda. And you still have the parent Wenchi.
Yeah.
It can tell you how far we have come.
I see.
Yes.
So that's where you grew up. Okay. In Sekwa.
Yes, in Wenchi West constituency.
Okay.
Which is now part of it has been carved out into the Time. The
Time
constituency. So my hometown is now in Time district. So that's where I grew up. In the town itself and the villages surrounding it.
With mom and dad?
Lived
with both of them?
Well, up to some time. We are extremely matrilineal. So, and my mother happened to be the only sister among about 7 siblings. Okay. So, she was a pampered girl. And so in those days everybody felt that, well, if you have only one sister, your focus is for the sister to bring up children whom you can call your nephews who will inherit you.
Yeah.
So when I was born, I was identified as somebody who is potentially going to inherit my rich cocoa farmer uncles. So I didn't stay much long with my father.
Okay.
So I was adopted at a very tender age by my uncles. So I grew a lot more in the care of my uncles.
Would you say you were born into riches then?
Well, by those standards, I was born into riches, but I didn't benefit from the riches that much.
Oh.
In fact, the riches turned out to become a curse in
How
a
so?
sense. Because you see, the thinking at that time was that because of some accident of history, there were many rich cocoa farmers who sponsored their children and nephews to secondary schools, about 15 of them in Sekwa. And somehow they all couldn't make it. They all failed. And some of the women became impregnated along the line. Those who were able to complete could not pass for sixth form and all that. So the mood of the community changed. Said that no, sending your child to secondary school was a waste of time and waste of resources.
Was this before you or during your time?
It was before me.
Before you.
Ahead of me. So when our batch came, I had been a very bright people right from class 1 up to Form 4, and topping a lot of district competitions and all that. But from Form 2, I started trying my hands at common entrance. Those days, when you pass, they could write to you and offer the scholarship to you even before you went to the school.
Okay.
So I had several offers, but unfortunately, any time I mentioned this one in the house that I've passed for college, they will lock me up and give me a terrible whipping just to take the idea of school out of my mind.
You're serious?
My uncles were rich cocoa farmers. They were preparing me to inherit them, and then I am trying to go to school and become a scholar. And one of my uncles had a very interesting story that scholars, when they die, they are inherited by cockroaches. So when you open their boxes, top boxes, you find cockroaches eating books. so they wanted me very much to inherit their cocoa farm, so I shouldn't think about going to school. So interestingly, Nkrumah's FQ, free compulsory universal
basic education.
It was on account of that one that I went to school, because one day everybody else had left for school and I was loitering around in town, so I was arrested by a young pioneer guys.
Okay.
And if you read about young pioneer, it was a fantastic means of grooming up the youth of Ghana to be nationalistic and so on. So if you are living with a young pioneer in your house and the parent is doing something that is against the country, that boy will go and report you to the police and they will come and arrest the parent. That was how nationalistic Nkrumah was grooming Ghanaian youth to become. So I was picked up, and then I was followed to my house one evening, and they warned my uncles. They asked them why I wasn't in school. Then they warned them, and in those days when you talk about free compulsory, it was actually compulsory because the law allowed parents to be prosecuted if they didn't send their children to school.
Right.
So they threatened to prosecute my uncles, and that was why I was.
That was why they took you back to school.
Yes, and even because of my diminutive stature, when I was taken to school, I mean, they will ask you to put your hand above
over your head.
If you can touch your ear, it means you are grown enough to go to school. I tried it; it wasn't working. But still, my people feared prosecution, so they admitted me. And in those days.
And this was at what age?
I was, I think, between 5 and 6 years.
Okay.
Thereabout. And I had not been baptized at that stage. But in Presby schools, the head teacher is almost always the catechist. So they just line us up. They look at your face and say, your name is James. you are Peter, you are this. So when it reached my turn, they say, you are John. So I started as John Nketiah. So until...
So where from the sin?
That is another story.
I want to know where the sin came from.
You know, it came when we were going to form one. You know, we had about 10 basic schools, all competing to select the best to enter Sekwa Presby Middle. So the head teacher at Sekwa Presby Middle was one Mr. Jako, who always organized an exams, much like common entrance. So that all students from the 10 basic schools will write an exam, and then the best 50 will be selected for the middle school. So at that time, when the Ajako exams was conducted, I came first. And when we all met at the school, some from their various villages, when they heard that this was the guy who disgraced all of you, he came first. Some of the bullies started to beat me up. And then I remember one of them said that the name John is the name for a rat. John. So, you know, they were bullying me, and everybody started teasing me that, oh, John, if you are somebody who is not smart, then you're working John. So that's how they call it.
So where you're John.
Then I said, okay, so let me add one. So that's how I added.
So you added a Johnson.
See, the things that can influence people at that age.
Wow.
So I added Johnson. If I had known that John would be a presidential name in Ghana,
you could have kept it. You have kept it.
I've left it that way.
Well, if you're just tuning in, this is Joy 99.7 FM. I'm spending time with John Nketiah. And you can join the conversation on WhatsApp 0244340437. Okay, so now you found your way back to school. What influenced your choice of subjects to study? Because I know you did banking and finance. You got into business, sort of. What influenced those decisions then?
Well, all along in basic school, I was very good at mathematics. You know, so at some point they referred to me as Archimedes.
Oh, wow.
You know, yes. And at some stage I suffered for it because I was being taught by a people teacher in P5, and there was an exam he conducted. I believe strongly that I got some question right, and he marked me wrong. So I reworked the thing, and I realized I was right. So instead of going back to him, I picked a red pen and marked it that I got it right. So all my friends started, hey, he has marked his own book. He has marked his own book. So when the teacher came, he just saw it and said, what? I'll put the teacher down. So he put off his wristwatch. Before I could say Jack, gave me a dirty slap, and I was lying on the floor. just because. But eventually the head teacher came, intervened, and looked at it and saw that I was right and my teacher was wrong.
Wow.
And then again, when I left middle school, because I had been banned not to attempt to, aspire to go to secondary school and all that, I didn't know what to do. So I started going back to the middle school to help those who were in Form 4 because I got distinction. And so those who were preparing for exams, I went back to try and help them. Then I decided to try my hands on the 4-year teacher training college admission exams.
Okay.
In those days, some of my teachers had written it for 10 years. They had never passed. And so when I took a decision to do it, I discussed it with some of my friends. And they said, no, you can never pass that one. Don't you see how Teacher Sante has been writing this thing for all these years? Don't you see how this one has been writing all this? I said, I'll give it a try. But here was me. I couldn't ask for money from my parents or my uncles. So I decided to go and engage in truck pushing.
Truck pushing?
Yes. So I mobilized 14 CDs at that time. I bought the form at 9 CDs and took pictures and all that and wrote the exams. Incidentally, 3 of my teachers were also going to write the same exam.
Your teachers were writing the same exam you were going to write?
And wrote.
Don't tell me some of them didn't pass.
Well, I passed with one of my teachers and 2 failed.
99.7 FM.
Hey! So that's how. And even something happened. Otherwise, I couldn't have even disclosed to my uncles that I wanted to go to training college. There was a festival, and somebody had swindled my uncle in his attempt to buy a tractor for his farming. And then my uncle and his friends were discussing that issue. And that person happened to be somebody whose school fees was paid out of a loan that was contracted from my uncle. So my uncle was very, very bitter that your father will come and take a loan from me to pay your school fees. And when you finish school, I'm the person you are coming to cheat. And those days the practice was that my uncles will give you loan to go and take care of your children. Then you pledge your cocoa farm. And then we will be assigned to, harvest with the cocoa farm. And so we were proud. So it happened that one of the products of such a business came out. He finished 6th form. He set up some subsidiary of a sort of a company, high purchase company, and got my uncle's money messed up. So my uncle was discussing this thing at a festival, and then, unknown to him, the sisters of that swindler were around. So they heard my uncle and they started insulting. They gave him a bad session of insults.
Wow.
That he didn't have, if you are a rich man, you don't have a scholar in your house, then your riches are useless. So that was what triggered the desire of my uncle to have a scholar in the family.
Finally.
So he came to my mother and said, where is Kwajo? He said, Kwajo is, I said, tomorrow he will go to college. So when I came and my mother told me, I said, I passed common entrance, I was offered scholarship, you beat me up, I passed this one this year, you didn't allow me. So now everybody is in school. How can I go and join a secondary school whose entrance exams I haven't written? So it was around that time I was thinking about applying. No, I actually applied to, I think, Asiedu Business School, some commercial, and something, those private schools. So within that week, the postmaster came to my house. Those days it was a postal agency in my town. So the postmaster, when he brings the letters, we have to go from house to house and deliver them. He came to our house and handed me a letter. When I opened, I had passed the exams and I had been offered admission to St. Joseph's Training College. So I just picked the letter and I gave to my uncle.
Your uncle.
I actually passed. So that's how I went to Training College.
Interesting. The journey into banking and finance.
So after when I was in Training College, and even my attempt to go to Training College was also a drama. When I disclosed to my uncle that I'm going to study for CETE, they started comparing to some of the earlier trained teachers in town. Say, you want to become a teacher? Master Dua, Master Jumbo, Master Quantano. They went to, is that not the college they went? I say yes. And they are teaching here, all their hands are swelled with chalk, and at times their trousers are torn and they are walking around here. That's what you want me to spend my money so that you become. Then my Form 3 teacher, Mr. Furry, kept insisting that, look, I was a bright chap and that there was an opportunity for me to upgrade from Training College to a university. And it turned out that around that same time, some of the pioneers who went to Training College at that time had managed to enter university. Prominent among them was Obimanu, lawyer Obimanu, that great lawyer who passed. So he became a role model, and then my teacher was convincing my uncle that, look, I won't teach if I go to secondary Training College. After that, I can upgrade and become like Obiman. So that's how.
And that was it.
They allowed me. So immediately I left the Training College. I bought books and wrote for O level, A level in the house. Studied on my own and then passed. And I in fact, when the results came, now I didn't know which subject to choose. Because following Obimanu's example, everybody in the village there in Brahafo at that time was aspiring to become a lawyer. So I picked the form and I wanted to become a lawyer. So I had my pastor, who was like a mentor to me, Reverend Jendia, who advised that, look, it is better to choose business administration than to become a lawyer. And it also happened at the time of the beginning of the revolution.
Okay. When
courts were closed down and tribunals, and so we're all preaching that even lawyers are nation wreckers and all that. So law was not, an attractive course at that time. Yeah. So I chose administration, and that's how come I went there and did it.
What's inspiring about General is the fact that even after his 60s, he's still inspiring people to learn and gain more knowledge. You graduated with a Master of Science degree in Defense and International Politics from the Ghana Armed Forces Command College last year.
Yes.
Wow. What made you decide to take that course?
Because, you see, I had become the Vice President of Socialist International. And somebody with a business background, all my courses were in business. After my graduation, I did this professional course in stockbroking. We became the pioneer stockbrokers in Ghana and all that. So I thought I needed to learn more. All my politics was about practice. Yeah. So I thought I needed something more in international politics. And the way the world is moving, terrorism, this globalization and all this. So I thought I needed to learn more about that. So
General,
that's how
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're an inspiration to a lot of us, honestly.
Yes.
I think you inspire a lot of people with actually that single act of taking that master's degree in defense and international politics. You graduated last year. I remember the pictures. You were all smiles.
and in fact, many of the generals and the lecturers there felt that I should pursue the PhD from there, and I said, no. We had lost elections. And I knew I would be free for a certain time.
Okay.
And
to
be able to utilize that time, well, I decided to
go to school.
So
wow.
I would not have time to do that PhD. So, and I didn't want. There are several universities that have written to offer PhD, honorary PhD. But learning from the leader of our revolution, that is President Rawlings, at the time he staged the revolution, he was still flight lieutenant, and he has remained flight lieutenant since then. So I don't want to go for a degree which I have actually not earned.
Yeah.
So when they write to me, I write to thank them and tell them I wasn't interested.
You are not interested. Interesting. Okay. General Mosquito.
So you are what you are, not the titles you hold.
In fact, yes. Even if you got a doctor, we will not call you doctor. We will call you general.
Everybody will still call me general.
But where did General Mosquito come from?
Well, it came from MPP. It came from MPP, and I adopted it.
How?
Because being a teacher, I know that when you are given a nickname and you become annoyed, it sticks.
It sticks.
You see, that's why I felt that, honestly, for the president to comment about this Achim Sakawatin, it was wrong. If he had left it, by now it would have passed. Nobody would remember it again. But to give it more attention, it's a way of making it stick. So, in my case, when they say General Mosquito, in a way it has stuck, in a way it has not stuck. Because they thought that it is a name that will degrade me in a sense.
Okay.
Because now I hear many people saying that, because of the way I make noise, because of the way some of my speeches are stingy, that's how I was. No, it has nothing to do with
So
that.
what exactly is it then?
There was a general in, is it Sierra Leone, General Mosquito, who was very brutal. Those were the guys cutting people's hands and so on. So the name was a very objectionable name, which they wanted to put on me because I had embarked on some crusade in Parliament and had succeeded. Okay. And they were mad at me. So they decided to give me a name that will make me feel bad.
Did it offend you?
No, it didn't offend me. But the crusade I was fighting was an anti-corruption crusade.
Okay.
In actual fact, President Kufuor had nominated somebody. He's dead now, so I don't want to be mentioning his name. That character is dead.
Okay.
President Kufuor had nominated him as a deputy minister for lands and forestry. And I knew his background. I knew that this is somebody who had been working in Mim Timbers and had been sacked for stealing. So I said that he couldn't be a minister. And even if he was going to be a minister, it would be wrong to make him a minister in charge of forestry because Mem Timbers remains a government company. So you are going to upgrade him and give him a chance to go and punish those who sacked him for stealing. And it will not be good for the country. So I decided that I will fight that appointment. So from the beginning I had about 15 people joining me in that fight on the appointments committee. So I managed to have access to his files and all the letters and so on before MPP could move in government, could move to destroy the evidence there. So when they went to destroy the evidence, they thought that when they put it to me to prove,
you wouldn't have any proof.
Wanting, and they will encourage him to take me to court for defamation.
So,
in fact, some Ahafo Students Union and all that, they did press conferences insulting me that I should be sued for defaming him and so on. They didn't know that I had a copy of his files even before raising the question at the vetting committee.
Oh.
Okay. So I kept quiet, and they made that noise.
But eventually you won.
When I felt that this is the opportune time, I just published everything, scanned his dismissal letters and his charges, and in the front pages of the newspapers, and went to conduct radio interviews and asked that the phone line should be open. Anybody who wants to challenge should call in challenge. So it dealt a nasty blow on the President Kufuor government at that time. They didn't have any option than to drop him. Yeah. So it was like one man against 200 MPs, and I won.
And that's how come they called you.
So they said I was a rebel. I was
General Mosquito.
General Mosquito, because things in Parliament, the way as we were proceeding, people were leaving the course. People were leaving one by one. At some point, I found myself alone. Then I still decided to stay the course. Okay. And eventually I won. And, and they went threatening. At some point, they brought vigilantes to Parliament House to try and look for me and lynch me. Wow. Yes, I said it won't work.
How did you protect yourself?
No, I don't protect myself. Somehow my opponents fear me. They have assigned all type of spiritual powers to me, so they themselves fear to attack me. So
do you have any spiritual powers?
Well, you want me to disown the spiritual powers so they can attack me?
do you need that kind of spiritual protection in politics?
No, they realize, you see, there were some 3 things that happened whilst I was in Parliament, which intensified the belief that I had spiritual powers. This one, after the man had been forced to resign, there were threats that I couldn't step in Ahafo, anywhere in Ahafo, and that I would be lynched and so on. And I said I will come. So there was this funeral which I attended in Collins Elder's place. Honorable Doa Jaho, they were all scared. They said, they say you can't step there. I said, I'll go. When I went, unknown to me, people disliked that man so much so that my effort to disqualify him had rather endeared me to the people. Wow. So I was met 200 meters to that town with brass band, and so I was carried
triumphant
entry. So those who were there came to say that this man, he must have some magic powers. There's a place where they say he couldn't enter. Now he went there triumphantly. Then there was another occasion where a mob tried to lynch me whilst I was at a radio station in Sunyani. That was in the early days of President Kufuor's administration, where it became virtually taboo for anybody to speak on any of the radio stations in Brong-Ahafo about NDC. The mob. So this vigilantism didn't just start. Yeah. We have lived with it for all these years. So they mobilized, the MPP mobilized to attack the radio station where I was speaking. And so as I was granting interview like this, the regional chairman then banged the door and entered and held my shoulder and said very unprintable things. You this, you that, you see village man, you see how you can get to your... Then I calmly replied that, I thought that at this age you will be conscious of whatever you do, and that if you are the regional chairman of a ruling government, we don't expect this type of behavior from you. And I'm sorry for your children, because they will be listening to the radio and they will hear that their father is saying these things, and then their classmates will be teasing them. So he threatened, look, I will slap you now. So I got up and offered my cheek and said, look, slap me and see whether you spend the upcoming Christmas. Hey. Then he started drawing backwards. So by the time I got down, there was a mob had gathered Cocoa House, if you know Sunyani Cocoa House. a mob had gathered down there with clubs, cutlasses, sticks, and all that.
Isn't it the radio station at the top of the building?
Of the Cocoa
Sky
House
FM,
building. Yes,
I think.
Sky FM.
Yeah.
So when I was descending, then the watchman came. My driver actually ran upstairs, met me on the first floor and said, General, don't come down, the people will kill you, I said, who can kill me? So I'll go. So, and I was on the last rung to the floor. Then the watchman said, meaning he's the one coming.
Yeah.
So I got down in my smoke and I said that, who wants to see me? I am Asiedu Nketiah. I'm the son of a man. So whoever wants to attack me, you don't know me. I am Asiedu Nketiah. What's your problem?
It sounds like some Okunko speech, pal.
So when I turn around like that and the flap of my smoke open like that, come and see them running. So I got down and mounted the bucket of a pickup. I say, I am going. Whoever is a man should
follow me.
So, by within a short time, news had gone all over the city. That some said that I removed some handkerchief and I did it like this, and everybody was lying down. So that accounted to one of the reasons why they believed I had magical powers. And third one was on the floor of Parliament. Honorable S.K. Boafo was making a presentation, and what he was saying about me was a lie. And he was claiming that I will go to hell and all that, And the whole story about that was that I was invited and told that the way I had been giving trouble to J.H. Mensah and other senior politicians on the floor of the House, they wanted to negotiate with me so that I can tone down on them. And I also said that, well, you have been calling President Rawlings Jerry John Rawlings without any respect. So if you call the President, His Excellency the President, I also call you guys honorable people.
Yeah.
Then they said that, then it's a deal. I said, okay, then I will respect judgments. We came to the floor, and on that very day, they started insulting President Rawlings. So I also got up and gave it to judgments, and it had to do with some constitutional amendment and so I told judgments about you. Well, I don't want to repeat those.
I know, it's okay. Don't.
Then this man got up. S.K. Boafo got up and said, this boy, he has no respect. This morning he came to apologize to us that he will not attack judgments again. I said, you came to strike a deal with me. It wasn't as if I came to you to apologize. So please, you say you are a pastor, and every morning before we come to sit-in, you gather people to chant and pray and all that, and you are lying. You go to hell. God will pay you for what you are doing. So immediately I said, God will pay you. Something let off from the ceiling and hit his head, and he was on the floor.
Wow. That moment,
when I said God will pay you, then it used to be a cover, some big cover for the lighting.
Yeah.
Some aluminium something. He just left off and hit his head and he lied down. And they called the Minister for Health, and Parliament was suspended for some time.
General, this one you have spiritual power.
So that one.
General, this one the BB Wetri.
So that one, then they all believed it. So when the Sunjata incident happened, S.K. Boafo was then the regional minister in Ashanti. So he was the first to announce that this boy, I know him, he's very dangerous.
General, anyway, let's move on from there.
Yes.
How would you describe your journey through politics?
Well, it has been very hectic but rewarding. Rewarding by way of satisfaction. I believe in job satisfaction more than financial or monetary satisfaction. That's why I'm in politics. And so there are occasions where people wonder why I'm still a man of average means and that I'm not that rich as they have projected. because if you look at my history, I've occupied positions I could have exploited to become rich. But I tell them that I'm not into politics for riches. So once I'm able to put body and soul together, I'm okay with that. So my aspiration is not to become a rich person.
A rich man.
So I get satisfaction when people feel that I've done something that has satisfied them or that has helped them. That's what I've been doing all my life.
With the benefit of hindsight, would you say you left Parliament too early? I think in 2004, right? You had served 3 terms.
Yes, I left in 2004.
Would you say you left Parliament too early?
No, it was the right time to leave. Because, and I think that my decision to quit has always been right. And that's not the first time I was quitting a job. You know, I did my national service as a marketing officer with Gihok.
Gihok, yes.
Then it was 2 years. In the course of, within 6 months of that national service, the marketing manager was engaged in something and he was sacked. So I was acting marketing manager.
From national service?
Within national service.
Wow.
And you know, all the other things were being sent to me at that point where my community came to plead that I should resign and get a training to become a rural banker so that we can establish a bank in my community. So with all the perks that were ready and with all the prospects ahead of me, I resigned to go and serve my people. You know, that time, many people felt that it was a wrong decision to quit. My general manager actually wept that he is a young, brilliant person who is going to mess up his life. I quit. Then I came to do this rural banking for 4 years. At the point where I was quitting the bank too, there were tears. The same way I said I had to quit, and I left. Came to to be a stockbroker. Okay. And then you know, somehow I was the pioneer assembly member too, and I was elected by Wenchi district to represent the district at the consultative assembly where we wrote the constitution. Okay. So my decision to quit the stockbroking business to go and become an MP too was met with sorrow, and people thought that I was mad because somehow the training we undertook to become a stockbroker, I topped the whole country, and they felt that here is a gem. Who's abandoning it all? The best performance since the training was established and all that, and then I was abandoning all this thing to go into politics. So it was also another drama, and I left. You know, so in the same way when I went to Parliament and I decided to quit, there was also the same thing. My constituency, party headquarters, Speaker of Parliament, everybody. But I am grateful to God that at any point I decide to quit in my life, it opens up a brighter opportunity for me. If I had been in Parliament, who knows, I would have been the longest serving member of Parliament, but I wouldn't have had the opportunity of becoming the chief executive of my party for this long.
What's the next plan politically for you? Are you looking at becoming the chairman? Maybe after Fusampafo?
No, I haven't thought about that. When we get there, we'll cross it.
You declared that you'd be ready to accept the running mate slot for NDC before John Mama announced his running mate. Yes. Were you disappointed that he didn't select you?
No, not at all. If you heard me very well, I said that I'm always ready to serve the party in whatever capacity that will push the interest of the party. And that has been my philosophy all along. If when my people felt that they needed me to, in fact, when I qualified as a trained teacher, I was working in a village somewhere. There was chieftaincy crisis in my town, and my people decided that they should bring me to become a neutral person to chair a committee that will run the town and leave the litigants, the two litigating sides, so that I can mobilize the youth for development. I had registered for my GCE exams, and I felt it would be bothersome to be in my town and studying. But I accepted because I wanted to serve my people. So I accepted, came, and in the midst of friendship and all this work, I managed to write the exams and qualified and went ahead. And at the same time, served the community. I never disappointed the community.
Okay.
When you heard about all these stories I said when I had opportunities at the stockbroking front and capital market and so on, and I was prevailed upon to go back, I did. When I was at Gihok, all the opportunities were ahead of me. I was prevailed upon. I withdrew and went back. So I said that, when we lost, and I felt that enough was enough, I was prevailed upon that, look, the battle we are going into, we need you as a general secretary. So I abandoned all my personal plans. That's how I came back to become general secretary. When I left Parliament, and I was going to Canada to join my wife and children, it was my colleagues in Parliament who prevailed upon me. That time, President Mahama was then MP for Bole Bamboy. He was one of them. Do Ajaho, Dan Abodakwi, E.T. Mensah. They all came together, and Bagbin came together and said that, look, the party is hopelessly divided into factions. There was Atamil's faction, Rollins faction, Obed Asamoah faction. So we need a unifier who can put all these people together for us to win elections.
Have you been able to do that?
Yes, I did. They prevailed upon me. So I had to abandon all my personal plans of traveling, even though my wife and children were there already. So I changed my mind that if I did not serve my party, wherever I go, I'll come back one day. So I better serve the party now. So I offered myself. And all the gurus, the three gurus, each of them sponsored their own candidate for general secretary. But when we went to the election, I defeated all of them. I had 83%, and the 17% was shared among the candidates of the gurus. You understand? So that's how come I was able to put the party together for us to win the 2008 elections.
With this much...
So this offer of running mate and so on, my acceptance was very, very conditional. I said that I don't have any ambition to become a running mate at this stage. But if you find out that I am the person who can be a messiah to redeem the party in these problems, I don't have any option. I will accept it the same way I accepted to become general secretary and abandon my own personal plan. But I wasn't going to campaign. I wasn't going to do anything. If the party deems me fit to do it, I'll do it. Otherwise, whoever comes, I'll do my work as a general secretary to make sure that we won as a politician.
Do you have presidential ambitions?
No politician can say that he doesn't have presidential ambitions. So even if I have those ambitions, they are not matured yet. They are not.
Okay.
There's nothing now that will trigger those ambitions. So let's leave that one to the future.
But in the letter of the word, if the party, like you're saying, says, look, we think that you're a unifier, you've done all of this.
If the party wants me to be Speaker of Parliament, Electoral Commissioner, Chief Justice, whoever, if the party says that we think you are qualified to do it and they offer it, I'll accept it.
President Johnson Asiedu Nketiah. How does that sound? Does it sound good to your ears? Okay. Folks, we actually, the conversation is interesting. So unfortunately, or fortunately, we've been granted a bit of time. We should end now, but we have some 10 more minutes to touch on a few more issues, because I wanted to pick your thoughts on some other things as well. Before the NPP took power, the NDC talked about free SHS and how it was not practicable. Now you hear in certain quarters how NDC says that they would enhance it and probably abolish the double track system. Has the NPP proven that the free SHS works?
please, can you tell me who said free SHS was not practicable? Because you put an assumption there, and then you based on that wrong assumption, you begin building your argument. So if the assumption is wrong, then your argument doesn't come in at all. I don't remember anybody saying that free SHS was unpracticable.
Okay.
Not at all. Because the NDC family, as represented by PNDC, we put it right there in the Constitution that Ghana at some stage must have free universal basic education and then progressively free secondary education and so on. That was the time the Buzia Dankwa fraternity boycotted the constitution making process, that they could not sit side by side with butchers and traders and so on. So we put it there. It is in the constitution. And when we came, you saw that we took action to actually begin it. But we realized that you need a certain basic infrastructure to be able to roll it out fully. And we have started with that infrastructure side by side with partial implementation of the free SHS. So who in the world said that NDC, or who representing NDC said that free SHS was not possible? I don't remember, so your question doesn't come in.
We'll leave it there.
Yes. Until the day you bring me a speech that represents
no, I won't pursue that course again.
Free SHS is not. Yeah.
Earlier, you talked about the president commenting on the Achim Sakawa Boy saga.
Yes, yes.
You heard of the demonstrations as well that went on there.
Yes.
They're calling on President Mahama to apologize for the comments.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Oh, I don't have time.
You think he should apologize?
I don't have time to be giving that ethnocentric demonstrations a thought at all. I don't have time to concentrate on that one. You see, I have always believed that, as somebody said, that little minds discuss people. Average minds discuss events, but greater minds discuss ideas. I want us to remain at the level of ideas and then be discussing.
But they are of the opinion that his comments were ethnocentric.
And I'm saying that those are
their ideas.
They are not ideas. They are discussing events. They are discussing events. They are not discussing.
You're not worried that a section of Ghana population is peeved by comments by your flag bearer?
They represented the Achims in any way. They did not represent any Achim. So
really? Then who do they represent?
No, they don't represent Achim.
Then who are they?
Even they couldn't identify themselves properly, because they were saying that Ochimai and Bosome and the other one. You know, there are three.
Kotoku.
Ochimai and Bosome and Kotoku.
Yeah.
My knowledge about Ochimai is that Ochimai is for all the Achims. So you cannot have Ochimai and also be having Bosome and Kotoku. If they are describing themselves as Abuakwa, Bosome and Kotoku, then they are talking about Ochimai.
Yeah.
But you say Ochimai and Bosome and Kotoku, it means that those who claim to represent the Achims,
so you're not even
actually
sure of the legitimacy of the people.
Yeah, I don't believe that they have that legitimacy.
You think
they have the right
a politically motivated group?
I'm saying I haven't said that. I say I don't have time to discuss it. I believe that some of these things may be an attempt to divert attention from our manifesto into discussing other things. So that's why I'm saying that our manifesto is full of ideas. Let us engage on the ideas and not be talking about it.
What's the biggest idea for you in the NDC manifesto? Is it the $10 billion push?
There are several big ideas.
Which one for you?
I have not assessed which is bigger than which. It depends on where you are coming from. They represent the aspirations of various segments of the population. So to be touting one as bigger than the other,
I'm asking because if I ask you
on the interests of the others, and I'm saying that there are several big ideas that I'll mention. The big push,
yes,
itself carries the title big, so you may want to let it remain.
The only thing I would ask about the big push
and then
is
you have Ghana First.
Okay.
Ghana First, which is also our major employment generation strategy. And then you have other things like electricity for all, rural water for all, and then the legalization of Okada and so. By the way, I've heard that somebody is saying MPP wants to legalize Okada now. Is it true?
No, the only thing I heard was that there were stakeholder consultations.
It will be a very interesting step for them to take.
Why would it be that?
Oh, I'm urging them to go ahead.
You want them to go ahead?
Oh, because how can the president himself describe this thing as coming from people who are not right thinking, and then they will turn around to go and implement it?
No,
so
he said, what I hear is that there are stakeholder consultations.
Well, let it remain stakeholder consultation. But I want to hear a date when it will be announced that
you want the NDC to come and implement it.
No. It is a good thing. So even if MPP in Dada this implements it, it is all well and good. So I don't have any problem.
What would you think if they did implement it, though?
Oh, they will have questions to answer. Because something that is good for the country is good for the country, whether it is implemented by NDC or MPP. We will be happy. But they will have follow-up questions to answer from the people they first described as not right thinking, who were suggesting that idea. And then also, I hear they are talking about the importation of salvage cars law is also going to be reviewed.
General, let's leave what they are saying. We'll put that aside. Finally, yes. What will be your message to Ghanaians and why you think they should bring the NDC back to power?
Oh, I thought that my last message should not be about bringing NDC to power. My last message should be about to the youth of the country.
Okay.
Because I was called to discuss my life history. So
right.
I felt that.
I mean, there are so many things that I've loved for us to talk about. So
all my life, I forgot to bring you a copy of a certain booklet I put together.
Okay.
Titled "My Experiments at Community Development."
Yeah.
The case of Nkramine Secondary School. I
would love to have it.
Yes, I'll let you have it tomorrow.
Okay.
It captures the work I did at community level when, as I told you, I was brought to mobilize and make sure that we can organize the youth to refocus on development and leave chieftaincy things to chiefs and all that. My advice to the youth is that whenever there are divisions in any community, whether in your organization as a group or whatever, focus on the bigger picture. Ask yourself, what I'm doing, if I devote my life to doing this, how does it improve the lives of the generations that will come after me? I was happy that I accepted the offer to go to my community, and by the time I left the community, I had impacted on the community. At least now, during those days, I led the community to establish a market that has now devolved to become one of the largest weekly markets in Brong-Ahafo. I led my community during the days I became assemblyman to establish a secondary school that is now one of the best secondary schools in the country. And each time there is a computer selection, whatever, the pressure on the school is enormous. And they keep on churning out very good results year in, year out. And I didn't get these things easy. I had to confront big powers. When I was mobilizing the resources of my community for us to start the secondary school, at some point in time, I had to be dragged before the traditional council, made to slaughter sheep and all that, for daring to question people who had embezzled community monies and to, recover them and put them into good use. Now everybody feels that I have been vindicated.
Okay.
So if you read that book, you see that part of my life has been somebody, a unifier.
Okay.
Whenever there is crisis,
and
I'm brought into the scene, I'm able to put all factions together for us to achieve this thing. Another trait that you will find is that I have been incorrigibly anti-corruption person all my life, to a point that I was going to jail the chief of my community because of corruption in those days. And from there to secondary school, to training college, to where I worked as a deputy minister for agriculture, and the work I did in parliament too, my record as an anti-corruption crusader, even to this date, it's also there. I believe that you always try to look at how you can serve your community.
Okay.
And the greatest people are people who die living things that live on. Okay. It's not about those who live riches.
General Nyamishrao, thank you so much. I mean, it's been such an interesting conversation. We could have gone on and on and on and on, but, well, we've taken too much time. Uncle Ken, we totally apologize for that, but it's been a great conversation. The General Secretary of the NDC, General Mosquito, or you can call him President John Asiedu Nketiah.